Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Coralville City Council to order, November 22nd, 2016. Roll call.
Holt.
Present.
Gross.
Here.
Gill.
Present.
Dodds. Present. Goodrich. Here.
Okay, all council members are present, as is the mayor, city clerk, city administrator, and city attorney. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Hoft. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now is the time for citizen comment. This is the time for anyone who'd like to address the council on something that's not already on the agenda. If so, feel free to step up to the podium and talk to us. Seeing none, I'll move on then. Item 5 is urban renewal plan amendments, public hearing. This is on 2 amendments to add projects to the urban renewal plans for the Mall and Highway 6 urban renewal area and the Coralville urban renewal area. Item A is a consultation report.
Yes, we had the consultation November 10th, and there was no other taxing entities showed up.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open the public hearing on the proposed amendments to the Mall and Highway 6 urban renewal plan and the Coralville urban renewal plan. Are there any comments? Any written comments?
No written.
Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that and consider the resolution.
Resolution approving an amendment number 6 to the amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Mall and Highway 6 urban renewal area, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Hope, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? Roll call.
Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich.
The resolution passes all ayes. Item D is a similar resolution.
Resolution approving amendment number 7 to the amended and restated urban renewal plan for the Coralville urban renewal area, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Okay, that resolution is also approved, all ayes. Item 6 is the Bridgewater subdivision, Part 2 and Part 4, public hearings, and we'll start with the building report and Planning and Zoning Commission report from building official Jim Kessler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request by Venture One for the PUDB site plan for parts number 2 and parts number 4 of Bridgewater subdivision. Part number 2 is what you see in the blue on the map here. That is a combination of single-family homes, duplexes. Part number 4, and I'll add the fact that there has been no changes to part number 2. Part number 2 is as you've always seen it before. Part number 4 is the part that is being revised, and the revision is down here in this corner, where originally there were 4 36-unit apartment homes. And that was a density issue with folks, and that was a issue for all the multi-tenant buildings that were down there. And they were oriented in here more or less north to south and side by side. So what the developer has done is take 2 of the 36 units out of here, taken the 2 that are remaining and backed them up against the interstate so that they basically face inward and outward toward the interstate. It also kind of creates a barrier along the interstate here for the rest of the housing that's up north of that. This is the one area of the interstate that if you drive by the interstate and look at the Bridgewater area, had no vegetation on it at all. You could look right up the valley of the interstate. So you can see they're putting some trees in here to enhance the landscaping there. And they replaced the 2 36 units with 11 4-unit townhomes. So by doing that, taking the 36 units out and putting the 11 4-unit townhomes in there, they've actually decreased the density on this subdivision by 28 units. So we're down below the maximum density now by 28 units. So they're well within their low density dwelling unit allowance for this size of development. This was on P&Z the other night and approved by a vote of 4-2.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Okay, now is the time for the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing, and again, as the folks probably know that were here last time. Try and keep your comments to 5 minutes. Try not to repeat what's already been said. And if you want to address issues that you spoke to us before at the last public hearing, you're free to do so, but I encourage you to be brief. We don't need to hear the same comments over again. But I will now open the public hearing.
Hi, good evening, council, staff. I appreciate your time and consideration. We have spoken to you before, and planning and zoning. My message has been consistent through and will be consistent this evening. I respectively disagree with the proposal and its compliance with the community plan. I feel that on page 24 and page 27 of our community plan, that it gives specific guidance as to what types of structures and are appropriate for a low-density housing. The matrix on page 27 of the community plan with its specifics on the whole dots, circle dots, or what's blank, I think speaks very clearly. The text on page 24, I think also does as well. If we look at the two sections, part 2, I think that does conform to a low density. Primarily single-family homes. Not entirely, but primarily single-family homes. Part 4 does not. It's the 36-plex 10-story units are not in compliance with page 27's guidance for low-density residential. I appreciate the chance to speak with you. I want to read briefly an item from page 2 of the community plan. The community plan will serve as a foundation for decision-making and a reference for city officials as they consider development proposals, capital improvements, and infrastructure investments, policy changes, and more. It will inform developers about the city's intentions and expectations so that they may comply with and contribute to the city's overall goals and objectives. Most importantly, it will represent residents' voices concerning what they want Coralville's future to look like. The opportunity the community plan gives us and the designations in low or medium, high, community, commercial, industrial is how we map out as a community what we want the city to look like. Taking a very large section of what's low density residential and changing the type of structures into those that are not listed or given guidance on page 24, page 27 of the community plan, I believe is wrong. It really gives the impression or sends a message to the community that the city's interested in chasing property tax dollars, not chasing what's best for community planning and community development as a whole. I have 3 questions I'd like to pose to you, and then I'll turn the floor over to my resident neighbors. Question 1. How can the PUD and site plan conform to the community plan when the matrix on page 27 clearly shows that apartments and condominiums, as well as senior living, are specifically not an appropriate use for low-density residential? Question number 2, please explain why the PUD and site plan conforms to the community plan when the definitions on page 24 of low, medium, and high-density residential state otherwise. And question number 3, my final question, where in the community plan is there wording that is more specific than what's on page 24 or page 27 that would indicate that apartments, condominiums, senior living are appropriate uses under a low-density residential area? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council, and happy Thanksgiving. My name is Jim Caldwell. My wife and I live at 377 Sierra Trace in Coralville. I have appeared before the city council once before and before planning and zoning several times. And I think that, I don't know how good your memory is, you've heard my objections, and they stand in line with Tim Leonard, who just spoke. Recently, a very similar project was proposed in Cedar Rapids. I sent the city council and the mayor an email to this effect. And this project, while similar in scope, was far smaller in size. And the city council, after reviewing this several times and voting on it several times, ultimately defeated the proposal by a unanimous vote. They referenced a string of concerns from density, loss of privacy, potential loss of property value, and safety concerns on an already busy arterial, which is Blair's Ferry Road. And I would suggest that those same concerns are reflected by the homeowners, property owners in the High Country Estates neighborhood. The city council said it just wasn't a good fit. And to summarize, I couldn't agree more. I do agree that part two, the blue part, represents something that I could easily live with. Part four, in the pink, especially with the two large 36-unit condominium complexes, is something that I just don't think fits at all with this neighborhood. I would invite those people that live in the High Country Estates area, if you object to this, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your time.
Jim, this sheet. I'm sorry? The bottom sign-in sheet. Good evening. My name is Sue Moffett. I live at 428 Sierra Trail, and I spoke with you previously, and I will not bore you with the same figures about the increased traffic and what it will impact on High Country Road. I appreciate the fact that there has been some attempt to reduce the numbers, but taking 28 units out of the number of units does not significantly reduce the traffic on High Country Road, and it will turn a very small street into a very, very busy street, which will impact not just on High Country Road, but also on Holiday Road. And as I believe they said at Planning and Zoning, that as they begin to work on the interchange at I-80 and First Avenue, I believe that the argument that most of the people would take Russell Slade Boulevard, I think it will direct more traffic onto High Country Road as people try to remove themselves from the traffic problems under the construction. So I would respectfully ask that you look very carefully at that increased density of the traffic and reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Terry Stone, 389 Sierra Trace. And I've spoken to you all before previously also. One of the letters that I sent to the council and to the mayor, I raised, we've been hearing these terms, density all through the summer, low density, high density. And I raised a question, to different residents, not in the High Country neighborhood, and I did interview a number of residents, kind of like a similar number, 35, 40 residents in the coffee shops in different areas in Coralville recently, and I broached the question, what's low density mean? Well, you know, it's single-family homes, or it's not apartment buildings, or and a couple people, in all honesty, didn't really have a good handle on it. But the drift that came back to me and the message that came back to me was, it's single-family homes. I mean, we can put any kind of spin we want on it, and we can take the rules and make them come out the way we want to. And I appreciate the revisions that have been done so far, but I think I pretty well speak for the neighborhood. The plan in its present form is just not acceptable. It's not acceptable to me, and it's not acceptable to the residents. We can continue to put spins on the terminology, what's high definition, what's low density, but that's our feelings. I'm not going to keep beating it. I think Mr. Leonard, I think Mr. Caldwell's pretty well explained our position.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I am Mike Bales with Venture One LLC. I appreciate you guys taking the time again to consider our proposal. I do want to give a couple handouts here. So first and foremost, I want to say that on behalf of Venture One, you know, we share a lot of the concerns of the neighborhood, as while we are not residents, we are in fact neighbors. This is a property that is not subject to, we own this property. The parcels that are being developed and that will be built on, we currently own. So issues with traffic, issues with noise, issues with property value, issues, basically everything that's been enumerated, those are concerns that we have. So when we go into a property and we look at it and we develop it, you know, we have to take into consideration a lot of factors. And everything that's been mentioned here are things that concern us, because if those were things that are going to be problematic, that's not going to do good for what we need to do when we're developing the property. You know, there's been points made that this does not conform to the community plan and that it's out of context for low density. I want to read you something from page 17, paragraph 4 of the community plan, which is the vision statement. The vision statement in the community plan is a retrospective, looking from the year 2029 back and to say, what happened? Did Coralville do it right? Did the planning people and the developers, did they do it right? And so I just want to read this to you. High quality, attractive neighborhoods remain the foundation for the community, which is supplemented by a variety of multifamily housing types that provide housing options for anyone wanting to call Coralville home. People and families of all income and in all stages of life can find a home or a neighborhood in Coralville. Students, young professionals, first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, empty nesters, and seniors can all be found in this community. The city continues to be known for its quality housing, including single-family homes of new and vintage construction, apartments, condominiums, townhomes, and senior housing. With the rebound of the residential market, Coralville has attracted new families and residents, and the number of longtime residents has grown. So what that says to me is Coralville is an inclusive community. It's not just for those that can afford a single-family home. When we looked at this project, you'll see with the document that I handed out, one of the things we took into consideration was what's around it. What's already existing around this property? Well, as you will note, What I tried to do, and this is from the GIS map, the Johnson County GIS map, I attempted to take the midpoint of High Country and the distance to what we are proposing and what is already in existence. So for instance, in the orange, you will see the senior housing that's being proposed. It's already approved. But you'll see the distance that we have from the existing senior housing is actually greater. On the red, you will see that it's going down to the valley and the multi-story and attached townhomes down there. You'll notice again that what we're proposing is actually about the same or a little further. With the 0 lots and duplexes that we're proposing, again, High Country back straight to Eastview, which is a good string of 0 lot properties, which again, well, actually to point out, that is actually in a low density zone on the community plan. Because one of the things about this is this property is not zoned R1. It has not been zoned R1 for quite some time. It is an RPUD. That's what it's been zoned. There was a site plan that was approved back in 1995. That site plan was the original second 9 holes for Brown Deer Golf Course. It did also include a lot of single-family homes. But if you take the position that, well, the site plan in 1995 is what everyone thought was going to happen, I don't think you can legitimately say if anyone in this room or in Coralville looked at that site plan today would reasonably expect that the second 9 hole of Brown Deer would be rebuilt again after it's already been built by the city. On that site plan, there were also future plans for some townhomes and some high-rise condominiums. So what we're proposing is not inconsistent with not only the community plan, the zoning, but what is already available in the neighborhood. And what we try to do with this particular neighborhood is follow what's been outlined to provide not only high-quality single-family, condos and 0 lots that many of will, in fact, exceed the values of already existing homes, but also providing condominiums, townhomes, and other housing options for all the residents of Coralville. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm Donna Thomas, and thank you for listening to me. I have a vested interest, of course, but I've lived here 10 years, and as I drive around this community, there are very few single-family neighborhoods left. As you drive down 5th Street, when I first came here, my son lived on 5th Avenue in an apartment. And now, as you drive down there are several newly built, I don't know if they're condos or apartments, plus the new development in the area. And then as you drive around, you will see in neighborhoods that they've put up multi-housing. And our single-family neighborhoods are getting smaller and smaller and infiltrated with these humongous multi-houses. Apartment buildings. When in the future are we going to look back and say, well, where are our neighborhoods? They don't all have to be $1-million houses, but a nice neighborhood with single families, decent traffic, where your kids can go across to the neighborhood and play with their friends, or stand on the corner and catch the school bus. I'm wondering, in 2029, as you're saying, and we look back, are we going to be proud of the fact that we have no nice neighborhoods left? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Stuart Thomas. I live at 383 Sierra Trace. As you look around the room tonight, you may have noticed that we don't have as many of our neighborhood representatives here as we've had in the past. That's not because they're not interested, but rather, from what they tell me, because they don't feel that you have been listening to them. The determination as to what this development is going to be is in your hands, and we are looking toward maintaining our neighborhoods. Mike, Mr. Bales has said that they've tried to contain and maintain neighborhoods through their plans and developments. But the neighbors who are there are ultimately saying, although you may have planned to that end, at this point in time, we feel you have failed. We ask that you listen to us and that your constituency is once again heard.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Smith, and I live at 410 Sierra Trail. I basically agree with everything that's been said before, so I'll not reiterate that. I look at this plan and I thought, is Russell Slade still going to become a boulevard? Is it going to be a true boulevard? How about the infrastructure in the area? I know in my house, you can't take a shower, well, you can, but you have no water pressure between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning. For us who are retired, that doesn't really affect us. But when in fact, if this is approved, will all of the concrete truck traffic be coming down High Country, or will Russell Slade Boulevard be completed and that the concrete trucks will come through Russell Slade Boulevard across the box culvert in the bottom? Will all the infrastructure be in? Will the sewer, will be the all the water? Will the water pressure be increased in the area, or will they just be tapped onto ours? Those are just some questions that jump out at me, let alone the density of the neighborhood. I guess we've come to kind of get used to our neighborhood. We knew that this was going to come someday, the development. And as far as the blue area, obviously I'm one of those people like everybody else who says, yeah, if we could only have it this way. But as somebody said that back in 1990, that this whole area was going to be, and this was a local realtor who's also an amateur historian at the city of Coralville, that this was all going to be developed in the next 5 years when we moved into our house. Well, it didn't. It took a few more. It took 26 more years, I guess. So that's all I really have to say. I just want to look down when this all, whatever happens, happens. And will we have things in place that it will not have a negative effect on the rest of our neighborhood? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Smith, Jim's husband. As he mentioned, we moved here in 1990 when there were going to be a golf course behind us. It was very exciting. Back in '07, I've always had this, and sorry, this is going to be not very facts, more emotional. I always had this thing about living around water, and we bought a small place near Lake McBride. And I promised Jim, I'm like, okay, we'll stay there for a few years, and by the time we retire, if you don't love it out here, we'll retire in Coralville. Okay, so 7, 8 years later, he didn't particularly love it out there, and we're like, and I became more and more, yes, Coralville's our home, that our neighborhood, the way it is, this is what we love. And so I conceded, and we sold the place out by Lake McBride. And I guess it's sort of an emotional thing. I kind of feel like with all this that Coralville is just not keeping with what, again, has been presented tonight, and it feels like a sellout.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you for being so respectful, and you're not repeating yourselves, and I really appreciate it. You've done a great job presenting your case tonight. Are there any written comments?
Yes, there were 2 additional written comments to ones we've received before. Excuse me.
Someone steal your notes?
Yeah, somehow it disappeared. I apologize. But
Were these the emails that we received? Or?
yeah, they were 2 emails that we received. One was from Mr. Caldwell, I believe. And I forget who the
Mr.
one
Weston?
Wilkins.
Yeah, Wilkins.
Yeah, I apologize. I did have those right here.
Too many papers.
Yes.
Okay, well, regardless, we received those if that's the emails, we all received those, and those will be entered into the record. So I'm going to close, oh, do you want to say one more thing? Mm-hmm.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the situation you folks
Can you introduce yourself first, please?
Oh, I'm Bill Griffey's my name.
Okay.
I appreciate the situation you folks are in. I served about 3 terms in the Iowa legislature, and I understand the kind of pressures that you get on both sides when you have people lobbying you and such. But it seems to me my comment is this. When you look at this map here, nobody has any objection to the blue, but there's large objections to the red. Now, what is the reason that you couldn't put blue all the way instead of just having, have it all single family? And basically, as I understand it, what the reason is you don't make enough money doing it that way. That basically, you can put the blue in, but if you really want to pay for the project, supposedly, you've got to put the red in so you can pack more people in there so you'll have more money coming in and you have more taxes coming in. It seems to me that's sort of what it boils down to. And the other problems, well, they're going to just have to be problems. And so I guess I would say this, that as public officials, you have a hard choice to make. You have a choice to make, which are economic factors, and if you actually would go with something less than what the large red there is, it would decrease the amount of money, the amount of property taxes that would come in. That would be a problem. On the other hand, when you make the kind of decision that you are making in regards to it, as to what the future will be, you are sacrificing certain values. And that's fairly obvious if you look at what the code said and such, and what the plan was, and what this does to it. So I would hope that you take that in consideration when you make your decision, and think seriously about values, because you have values on both sides, of which kind of value you think is more important. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll consider a resolution, then we'll have discussion.
Resolution approving the PUD site plan for Bridgewater subdivision, Part 2 and Part 4, Coralville, Iowa, is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Hoft. Okay, discussion now.
Well, let's start off with red and blue in the corridors. Now, my concern was the impact of the older neighborhood, and I think we had a long discussion about the Russell Slade Boulevard. And I don't know, Jim, if you want to elaborate on what changes we were doing with Russell Slade, or we can talk about that. We were talking about First Avenue and a roundabout there. We were also talking about making that a boulevard and making it such that anybody that lived down in that lower area, it would be very hard to be going up to Holiday Road. That's what my take was on this. I mean, when you're leaving off those 36 units, going up Sierra Trail to Trace, it just isn't a smart thing to do. I mean, you're going to run into traffic, you're going to run into an older neighborhood, you're going to run into stop signs, and to make Russell Slade as convenient as possible for that red area down there. Is anybody else on agreement to that? Is that what we were talking about? Is limiting as much traffic to that area? You know, we talked about Holiday Road and the stacking there, that it would be, you know, if you were coming up Sierra, if all those cars were coming high country would be, you know, you just can't get out there. So, you know, there was some talk about opening that up, and our feeling is to do some kind of improvements on that, but not to the point of changing it at all. You know, when Jim was talking about the cement trucks, I think that's a very easy thing to do. If we talk to Mr. Bales and the company to have as least impact on that neighborhood as possible. I'm not saying that there's not going to be traffic up there. It's just that I think that, and I may be totally wrong, but I think when we're all said and done, that arterial down below is going to take most of the traffic from that red area. You're going to get people coming through there, but the impact, I think, is going to be more on Russell Slade Boulevard. Any other comments from the council, or how you believe?
Let's before we move on, Kelly, did you want to say anything more about that, the proposed Russell Slade and the improvements with First Avenue?
Yeah, based on your discussion previously, we did look at that. The one thing that was suggested on High Country Road was to look at the visibility, because that was an issue currently, and whether it's the removal of the walls or doing some grading in regards to the sidewalks. There's some issue there, but not changing or adding turn lanes or anything to that nature. And then to improve the intersection of First Avenue and Slade Boulevard with with turn lanes and either the roundabout or an actual lighted intersection. It looked like the roundabout was probably the best alternative, considering though we have one to the north, but to look more in depth. But that would be where we would put the improvements, would be at that intersection, to make it more convenient and easy for people to get in and out at that intersection.
Speaking of improvements, I heard correctly that this will not impact what's going to happen with the overpass and all of that. Is that right? I mean, it's not going to, they're not going to...
You mean in regards to the First Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's more than enough distance from this intersection
I thought I heard
to
that
not be impacted by
way as well.
First Avenue interstate improvements.
Thank you. Anybody else going to go? Go ahead. I can wait. Go ahead.
Councilmember Gill and I were both on the committee for the community plan, as well as the West Land Use Plan. So we're pretty familiar with that. And with that process, we heard from a lot of experts, and I've also done my own research in urban planning. And when you say you don't see very many single-family home neighborhoods existing anymore, I would have to say that's on purpose. Because the research shows that a healthy city is best done by neighborhoods being of multiple types of housing in those communities. I appreciate all of you coming to all of these meetings and lobbying so hard for your efforts, but on the flip side, we've been lobbied just as hard by the school board and other things like that. Because when you put a whole lot of single-family housing in one area, then that starts affecting a lot of other parts of the community as well, including the schools. That you're busing children longer distance, that you're upsetting the balance of free and reduced lunch. There's a lot more to balancing urban development than there is in the planning of it than just the density. So I just wanted to bring that up to you, that it's not that I haven't put a tremendous amount of thought. I have heard you, I have listened to you, but I've been trying to weigh it out for the betterment of the whole city of Coralville and all of the other things too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. If I could tie into that, I would agree with what Jill is saying. There are a lot of, whoever said it, I don't remember, but you're right, it's a difficult decision because there are a lot of things that go into this, and so we have to consider a significant amount and what's best for the entirety of Coralville. Again, thanks for coming out. I wish the entire country would be able to see this exchange and hear you in the respectful way that you came out. And believe me, we have heard you. I would like to respectfully disagree for the people who said that we aren't listening or this is a money grab. If we weren't listening, we would have rammed that thing through with the additional bigger buildings there and without any regard at all. But we did reduce it by 28. I've been told that is, as you heard, that's much lower than, a margin, Jim, is what you said there, with regard to reducing some of that, while taking into consideration affordable housing issues and some of the issues that other groups have come forward with. I think I'm going to be voting for this tonight. Thank you.
And I think to be consistent, just before I let you go on,
That's fine.
you're gonna, if you're following along with what we're doing, you're gonna see a very similar type of thing in the Scanlon property. That property is going to be a tremendously multi-faction type of thing of different types of price points and different types of housing. And there is discussion of an elementary school being there too. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. But we've been talking about, this kind of planning for a lot of the new developments because we have one shot to get it right. So we've been really, really thinking it through, I think, with all of the new areas that we're going to be developing. So it's not just your area, it's all of the areas.
But I'll dovetail. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I do mean that. Your correspondence has been very enlightening. And, I guess going along with what Bill said, not agreeing with you and not seeing your side doesn't mean we didn't hear you or didn't mean we didn't have that dialogue. We had a very passionate discussion after the 2 meetings ago when this first was brought up. And I think the results are there. This is not the same plan that you presented. And part of that is, a large part is because we heard you, we listened to you. I hope going in, it was never probably going to be where the neighborhood would get everything it wanted or that the developer was going to get everything they wanted. I think our history has been, we've tried to find middle ground when there's been big discrepancies between those two aspects, as long as the parameters are being met. I use myself as an example. I think I said this to you 2 times ago when you were here. I live at 1080 Ashland Court, and it's one of the most mixed areas of the city. There's single-family housing. A half a block away, there are condominiums. Another half a block away, there's commercial. I mean, it's about as mixed as you can get. And it's a different neighborhood than I grew up in my hometown of all single-family homes. But it is kind of what Councilwoman Dodds was saying. It's kind of where urban planning development has gone from that standpoint. And, I always, when I make a vote, anytime I make a vote, I always put myself and try to put myself in the shoes and the predicament or position of my constituents. And I have to ask, if I lived here, would I be okay with still living here after the vote? And I would be on this one. I wouldn't have been on the first one, which is why I voted the way I did and made the statement. But I do think there has been good, honest attempts to make this right, to listen to your voices, to hear your concerns, to address those concerns. And again, I understand they weren't 100% addressed. But that doesn't mean, again, we didn't hear you, because we're not voting or giving you exactly what you want from that standpoint. And I echo what Bill said. I couldn't tell you what the property tax valuation is. I don't make my decisions based on that. I make those decisions based on quality of life, strong neighborhoods, those components. If it was a money grab, we could put and jam-pack way more density in there if we wanted to do that. Having said that, I appreciate your sentiment. And, I also will be voting for this because I think there has been, again, a good attempt to reach some compromise here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Laura, do you want to say?
I may not be as eloquent as the others here in my group. I do want to make note that this is a beautiful piece of land, and I think we've been able to preserve some of the natural resources with this plan, and I'm not so sure that houses up against the interstate is such a great idea, single-family homes. So I think we've tried to make this plan work for many different people, and I think that's what we have in Coralville, is many different price points, many different family types, and we're making available housing that will sell. And I just think this is a very good plan. We've worked very hard, and I thank the staff who have really spent hours and hours and lots of headaches and so on trying to make this the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Mr. Mayor, can I add one more thing? Just thinking of what Lori said. And, I know when this first got presented, Tom and I were very adamant on wanting to protect as many trees as possible. I mean, we were very clear on that. I live in a wooded area of Coralville. I know this is a very wooded area. And from my estimation, this plan did the best job, much better than other ones we saw. And things that were presented earlier that were cellulose dense took out so many trees. And that's something I was very clear I would not have supported in any fashion.
Yep. Thank you, Mitch. That was actually going to be one of the points I was going to make, is that the first plan we saw back in June, remember Assistant City Engineer Scott Larson gave us a crosshatched area that showed all the timber that was going to be taken down, and it was basically the whole property was going to be regraded. So we've come, this is actually it's about the third revision, not the second revision. And I think other thing that we need to remember too is this is probably a 10-year plus build-out plan. So I was told that probably, Jim, is this fair to say, probably the blue will get built first because it's the easiest with the street, extending the streets and so forth?
I would assume that the blue, especially the single-family homes and the duplexes along Russell Slade, will be more or less the first construction. First, It's going to be, of course, Grand Living. They're already approved, as is a commercial. But as far as this area goes, yes, I would say that the blue would be, well, it has to be approved to get Russell Slade in there so they can get down to their multifamily development.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, is that red isn't going to start serious construction until that Russell Slade is extended through. We wouldn't allow that. So
Mike is nodding his head, so I'm assuming that's the case. Okay.
And I will add one thing. When they were talking about construction traffic on this, I've been in contact with the people from Grand Living because they're already approved and ready to go, and we've done a couple inspections out there. They're trying to, I'm working with them because they really want a construction entrance sign out on First Avenue so that and this is the only way to get to them at this point in time, to bring their construction traffic in, since everybody's kind of isolated back here and it can't be seen from the road. But I think that same thing would work when the rest of this is developed, is to get a sign out on First Avenue for construction traffic as much as we can to keep it off of Holiday Road. And it just makes sense that the cement trucks and everything would utilize Russell Slade to get in here for all of this development, rather than come up around Holiday Road and come through a neighborhood. So the people of Grand Libyan have already been conscious of construction traffic, and I'm sure that this developer will be too.
One more thing, can we address the water pressure?
And the infrastructure, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Utilities.
And the infrastructure piece, yeah, that Jim brought up.
Yeah, Scott can probably do that more eloquently than I.
Assistant City Engineer Scott Larson.
Well, the first issue that was brought up regarding water pressure, that's something I'm going to talk to our water superintendent, Kevin Callahan, about tomorrow. Nothing being done with this proposed development is meant to boost the water pressure, because the water pressure is based on the elevation of the water in the two towers that are on the north side of the Interstate 80 that feed the north side. And one thing that will happen with this development is obviously the extension and connection of water main through the development and over to First Avenue. We have 12-inch main on Holiday Road, and we have 12-inch main along First Avenue. Right now, the High Country Sierra Trail neighborhood is on a single, I believe it's either a 6-inch or 8-inch main coming south off of Holiday Road. So when this blue section is built out, there will be a secondary water main connection, which could certainly help with some of the lower pressure issues. But I think it's worth talking to our water superintendent to see if there might be something else going on there. So the other issues were, as we just talked about, the concrete mixer trucks. That's a very common problem. You know, a lot of times you think of all the subdivisions that have been built to the north, usually the first piece will be built off of 12th Avenue, and then it's done, but then the next piece is further west, and so all the truck traffic, contractor traffic comes and goes. So at least in this location, there is the option potentially to divert much of that traffic away from the existing street, and not every neighborhood certainly has that option, so could be a plus. I don't know, did that answer the main questions? I don't know if we had any others.
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to call for the vote, and again, I think you've heard from all of us that we take this very seriously and appreciate your input, and it's never an easy decision, but we're elected to represent all of Coralville and do as we see best for the community. So, roll call.
Gill?
Aye.
Dodds? Aye. Goodrich?
Aye.
Holt?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution is approved, all ayes. Thank you very much. Item 7, Coral Ridge Apartments at 915 20th Avenue. Again, this is a PUDB site plan for the 3-story 56 residential facility, which will have aimed at older residents older than 55.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the development at the old Lantern Park nursing home site to be developed as 56 units of independent living apartments. These apartments are aimed at 55 and older residents, so there is a age restriction on these apartments. As this is the site plan that we're looking at right now. It's going to have 2 entrances off of 20th Avenue. These entrances are pretty much there at this point in time now from the old nursing home. As you can see, as you come into this development on the southern entrance, this goes down underneath the building, and underneath this building will be underground parking. So they will have underground parking underneath the building. There's enough underground parking underneath this building for 1 parking space for the units that are here, I believe. And also they have, to make it up, they have the surface parking out in here. So the development sits in here like this. almost parallel to 20th Avenue, but not quite. Has 2 entrances, has a paving out front. It has the underground parking at this point, and it has this access here, which was actually put in at the fire department's request so that they had better access to the rear of the building. And then they've worked with the fire department to get, I believe, standpipes back here on the back side of this building so they can fight the fires here. Also, since we have this here now, there is a future that we'll have a new water well back here. The water department's looking at this for a new site for the well. So this would actually be extended back here as an easement back to our water as well, which will give us just a little bit better access across the back. We can look at some other sites or some other issues on the site plan. Let me go a little bit further here. You can see the landscaping around the front. They've got their parking screening around the front that they're required to have. They've added trees here. There's a lot of existing trees in the back here. And actually, off this back entrance to the building, there's a possibility that there could be a patio or something out here for the residents to use as well. So if we get out of this and look at the building images, we have worked, this is one of the projects that we've worked, the staff has worked long and hard on with the developer to get the design of the building to be something that we would like to see and something that they could furnish to us. So when we first looked at this building, it's a long, narrow building. It had pretty much of a flat front on it, the front and the back, and we worked very hard with them to get these projections on this building to give these people in some of these units, a balcony or a outdoor balcony. These weren't on the original building. These were added through our work with the developer. So you can see these are outdoor patios. You can outdoor balconies. You can see there's railings on them. You can see these railings are really hard to see. When they're all said and done, they'll all be white, so they'll give us a little more contrast to the building. But what we worked with them really hard was to get some more brick on this building and some more different look to this building. Since it was so long and narrow, we wanted to have more definition of the building. That's one reason we worked with them on the balconies, to get the projections out of that. And then we worked with them to kind of give this, rather than such a long, this is quite a long building, to give it such a one material look across the front, we worked with them to give us some different looks. So we've got brick up this far, and we've got some hardy plank siding above it. This side here is all basically stone. And then we go back to the brick. We got hardy plank and some siding here, back to the stone. And then we've got stone here, and this is pretty much hardy plank siding. And then we've got the brick with the hardy plank here. So this is actually the elevation of the building that will face 20th Avenue. And then when you look at the back elevation, we've pretty much kept our design and our architecture going around the back of the building, as well as the ends of the buildings with the brick and the hardy plank, so that we have pretty much 360-degree architecture around this building. So the developer has been very gracious to work with us to get to this point. So we feel that this is a good use, a good look on this building here. As I said, this is a 3-story structure. There's 56 residential units in it, 58 underground parkings, which gives us plenty of parking for one car for each resident. And as I said, the rental is restricted to 55 and older occupants. In all of the units in here are 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. So Planning and Zoning looked at this at our last meeting and recommended this for approval by a 6-0 vote.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Item C is a public hearing on this project. I'll open the public hearing, and are there any comments? Sure.
Thank you. Megan Carr, I'm with Sand Development. So, Jim, would you mind just flipping to the next page?
You want the site plan?
Nope, the same document, just the next page.
Oh, sure.
This kind of gives a good rendering
Thank
of
you. I forgot
what it
that
would,
one.
yeah, what the building could look like once it's complete. Hopefully, it'll look not as sketchy. It'll look as a real building. But basically, just to reiterate, they're all 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, in-unit laundry. They're all accessible units and designed as such with lower cabinets, turning radiuses in the bathroom, the closets. The master bedroom closet has a turning radius. Kitchen area has a lowered counter height. All of the appliances will be ADA accessible, and then as well as all of the patio entrances and the patio areas will be fully accessible for wheelchairs or otherwise. They, you know, as you guys are all aware, there's affordability component to the project. So we have 30%, 40%, 60%, and a few market rate units in the building, which means rents will range somewhere around $500 up to $975 a month. And the utilities are not included in rent would be electric and air conditioning. So otherwise, all of the other heat, water, sewer, trash, all of that are included. And then we'll have an on-site manager that'll be on-site full-time, as well as an on-site, or hopefully an on-site caretaker. And when I say on-site manager, meaning they'll be on-site 40 hours and potentially could be a resident. I don't know for sure on that.
And communal dinners, is that offered as well?
We do not offer that,
Okay.
but there will be a community room. So it will not be a commercial grade kitchen.
Okay.
So I don't know what, like Meals on Wheels, or I don't know if you guys have that in, or if that's the name that you use in Coralville, but I could foresee something like that, but it's not set up to serve meals.
Okay.
Because of the commercial kitchen. But there will be like a kitchenette within the community room for residents to be able to use.
Is this a secure building?
Yep, the entire building will have secured access. So everyone will have, in general, how we typically do it is the panels are set up right to ring to their phones, whether that's cell phones or otherwise. And then they have a specific key on their phone that they can hit to let the individual in. The whole community will also have security cameras. That's a requirement by Iowa Finance Authority, and it's also something that we do in almost all of our communities.
I'd just like to thank you because you've provided us with affordable housing, and it's quality housing. And we've worked long and hard to do this, so it's the staff and you. Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you for your support. We do appreciate it.
And on the kitchen, missed the comment we had on the roof that got incorporated into.
Yep, it's a 612 pitch roof.
Okay.
I forgot which we ended up with.
Yeah. It's a steeper roof. Yep.
Great, thanks.
It's kind of hard to tell from this angle.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting your drawings to change. Maybe they did, but I just want to make sure that verb layer changes got incorporated.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, from a schedule perspective, we hope to start break ground sometime in late December, early January.
Great.
So.
Talk to that guy for a building permit.
Yeah. It's already in the works, I believe.
She has time.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Any written comments?
No written.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing and consider a resolution.
Resolution approving the PUDB site plan for Coral Ridge Apartments, Coralville, Iowa. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
The resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 8 is Lot 2, the Crossings Commons, Part 1. This is a revised PUDB site plan for a mixed-use building at the intersection of Camp Cardinal Boulevard and Kennedy Parkway. The first floor will be commercial space and parking with the second and third floor containing 13 residential units each. Building report and P&Z report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project is located on the intersection of Camp Cardinal Boulevard and Kennedy Parkway. So it's basically on the northwest corner of Kennedy Parkway and Coral Ridge Avenues. This is the lot that we're talking about here. What we're looking at here is the existing tree line. I only show you this because I'll show you the tree line on the site plan as well. So when we're looking at the site plan, this building sits in here at an angle, at a 40, maybe a little more better than a 45-degree angle. Its access is off of Kennedy Parkway. There is one access point here that gets into the site. The building is laid out such that what we're looking at here is the actual plan of the ground floor level of the building. So this is the end where we have the residential area, or I'm sorry, the 4,600 square feet of commercial area, right in here. Then as you go this way, this lower level of this building is actually in two different sections. So you have this commercial area here, then you have this open space, and then over here, you have the covered parking, which is the 26 units of covered parking. Now, it looks kind of odd, but the next two stories actually span over this space so that they're complete stories. But what this gives us is access off of Kennedy Parkway right through, basically through the building at this point, underneath the upper two levels, gets us to the back side of the building where there's also surface parking as well. And it gets us back here where there is a amount of surface parking that will help to accommodate the commercial use on this end of the building. It's just another view of the lower level of the site plan. But when I was talking about that tree line before, I don't believe we can see it on this one, but we can see it on this one. So the tree line that we looked at on the empty lot is this line right here. That's the tree line. What this darker line here is actually a fall line for the larger trees that are on the property. And that's just on there to show that hopefully if a tree falls, which we hope it doesn't fall, it won't actually fall on the building, disturb the building at all. Then we're kind of looking at the landscape plan for this building. I know one of the big concerns is that we don't lose any of the buffer, the tree buffer that we have along Camp Cardinal Boulevard. And as this can show you, we're not losing any of the existing tree buffer along there, and probably the tree buffer along there will actually be enhanced. The only two trees that are on this site now that they're planning to lose are these two trees right here. This is the area that's down in a valley where where the stormwater is being taken care of. The retention is being handled. So in order to make that work, they do have two trees here that have to come down. But all of the other trees here, existing trees, are actually staying. And actually, I've walked this site, and I walked it with Amy Foster, our stormwater gal. We've walked this site, and we've also walked a potential site next door here, and we've had them stake the tree line for us so that we can actually see where the grading disturbance will be so that we know how many trees are taken out, not only with the building, but with the grading. So we're very comfortable that we're not going to lose any good-sized trees on this site. So as we look at the building images, and I will find them here someplace, I'm sure. They're not there. Here we go. So once again, we're just basically looking at the floor plan for the lower level of the building. We see the underground parking, we see the commercial space, and we see the open space here where you can drive through the buildings. On the back side of this building, and we can see that on some future images here, there is an entrance and a lobby entrance here. That not only gets you into the parking garage, it gets you into an elevator and a stairway that'll go up to the parking units. So if you are lucky enough to have a parking place or park in this underground parking, you have access to stairways to get up. And if you're parking around the back of this building, you also have an entrance on the back of the building from the surface parking that you can get in here and reach the upper two floors. This is one of the apartments that's upstairs. As I say, there's 13 units on each floor for a total of 26 units. Let's go on here a little further. So now we're actually looking at the building itself. We think this is an excellent building as well. It's got brick on it, it's got stone on it, it's got hardy plank siding on it. As we're looking here, we're looking at the southwest elevation of the building. So we're kind of looking at this building from Kennedy Parkway, Camp Cardinal Boulevard at the same time. So we're looking at this area here, which would be part of the commercial area. As you can see, we're looking here where we can see actually underneath the building. The blanked out windows here, the darkened windows here are the indoor parking garage. We've learned a lesson on one of our ground level parking areas to where we really need to get the windows blackened out so we can't see into the parking when it's lit at night, or we don't see headlights streaming out through there when it's when there's cars parking in there at night. So we're looking at the northeast elevation here. So if you were standing out in the timber, basically, north of this building, looking back at the building, this is what the site you would see. This is the little entryway here that I showed you that goes into the garage. It will get you into the upper floors and get you into the parking garage. This, as it turns a corner here, this is the end of the garage, the parking garage on the north. This is the one area we worked with them to have some more features built into the architecture of the building. This was just basically a blank wall. We asked them to, down here in the parking garage, we asked them to put it was all hardy plank. We asked them to put the brick on it and put a window in there as well so that it kind of matched the architecture, the upper level of the building. And then, of course, here you're looking at the commercial area. So actually, when you're looking at this, this would be more or less Camp Cardinal Boulevard out at this area. And then just some more perspective of the buildings, the west elevation, the east elevation. So the east elevation would be the building, the elevation that would kind of face Camp Cardinal Boulevard. That would be to the east of this, and the west elevation, it would face off to the west. And then, of course, you have the north elevation. So in the north elevation, this is the parking garage, the end of the parking garage I was showing you. The southeast elevation, you're looking at the commercial area with the apartments above it. This also was at our last P&Z meeting and recommended for your approval by a 6-0 vote of the commission.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to open the public hearing on this proposed project. Are there any comments? Any written comments?
No written.
Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and consider the ordinance.
The resolution?
The resolution, I'm sorry, resolution.
Approving the revised PUDB site plan for Lot 2, the Crossing Commons, Part 1, Coralville, Iowa, is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Hoft. Discussion.
I'd just like to point out there is a representative of the developer is here, and also just want to thank them for taking seriously the design issues and the importance of that to that neighborhood, and it'll be a great addition there.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. I agree, and it's, you know, this is the PUDB portion of this project, which will actually have to occur for some of the Bridgewater one, where we'll have an opportunity to ensure a quality look to that neighborhood as well. So, roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Hoft.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Okay, item number 9 is the Lot 2 Iowa River Landing Part 5 public hearing. This is to rezone Lot 2 in the IRL to CPUD 2, and the site plan is for a 4-story mixed-use building with underground parking. Level 1 will contain commercial space, and levels 2 through 4 will contain a total of 38 residential units. Building report.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. This is at the intersection, this is in the IRL, Iowa River Landing. This is at the intersection of Quarry Road and East 9th Street. So what you're looking at here is an alley that runs behind this building at this point. Right now we have a temporary parking lot here, but in the future the second phase of the intermodal will come up and be in this area right in here. This building does have underground parking. There is an alleyway off of East 9th Street at this point that will access this underground parking, as well as accessing some behind the building parking for the development just to the north that the Prime Ventures actually did and is finished at this point in time. Also, when the intermodal is basically, the second phase of the intermodal is in place, this will actually be the route the buses come in now, and they will, and rather than access the intermodal where they do now, they will access it at this point right here. So there'll be some kind of sawtooth or some angle parking along here for buses to park. So they will come around this way, and they will also exit out onto East 9th Street. So this eventually will be one-way traffic. This will be two-way traffic. This is kind of the layout of the building as it comes down East 9th Street. There's a retaining wall close to the street here. The developer and the designers wanted since 9th Street falls off like this, they wanted the sidewalk that accessed the building and the retail area to be at the same level as the entrance to the actual storefronts themselves. So that necessitated a retaining wall here and also a retaining wall here. This will actually can act as a lower sidewalk so that right in here, this is a actual handicap ramp, so that if you're walking down the street, you can just keep walking straight if you want down this handicap ramp. This is a crosswalk that exists there right now that goes across East 9th Street. You can continue around here, and there is also a crosswalk here. If you're on the upper walk, there is another handicap ramp here that will get you down to the level that will get you down on Quarry Road and to the north. There's also a stairway right here off this higher that will get you down, and you can cross the street toward the back pocket. The streetscape will be a continuation of the streetscape that's already coming down 9th Street, so that will stay the same. And it'll round the corner and follow what we have there as well. There's just some more images of the building, gives us some elevation of the retaining walls and what have you. And as I said, the landscaping and the streetscape will pretty much follow what we already have on East 9th Street. So the look of the building. As you're looking at the building on the south, which of course is the elevation that will face East 9th Street. This is the building elevation. You can see that there's commercial space here, and it has the 3 stories of apartments above it. This is a flat roof building. It is primarily brick and glass and with metal window frames and mullions. North elevation of the building. As I said, I'm sorry, I'll go back here. This is would be the entrances to multi-tenant building, multi-retail buildings, or however many there are there. North side of the building, as you can see here, as you're looking at it from the north, you're looking at, this is just an overhead door, the entrance to it, and you're looking here at, this is actually the entrance, apartment entrance or the residential entrance that will get you up to the residential area. East elevation, or the elevation that will basically face the Back Pocket Brewery and Quarry Road. Once again, you're seeing that residential entrance here, and you're seeing retail storefronts here. And on the west entrance, coming in off of East 9th Street, this is the overhead door that will get you to the underground parking. And this is just some more window frames for the commercial. So when we say we have underground parking here, we have underground parking for 37 units. The rest of the parking, there are some spaces allotted in the temporary lot form, and the rest of the parking would be in the ramps that are already existing down there and any future ramps that we may have. As I said, level 1 is 16,000 square feet of commercial space. Levels 2, 3, and 4 are residential with 28 one-bedroom apartments, 2 two-bedroom apartments, 1 one-bedroom condo, and 7 two-bedroom condos, which make up the 38 residential units that we have in the space. This also was on P&Z at the last meeting and recommended for approval by a 6-0 vote.
Thank you, Jim. I'll open the public hearing on the first consideration of this rezoning ordinance for this project. Are there any comments? Any written comments?
No written.
Seeing and hearing of none, I will close the public hearing and have the first consideration.
Ordinance number 2016-1021, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Lot 1, Cedars 3rd Edition, from CPUD 1, Commercial Plan Unit Development 1 District, to CPUD 2, Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District, is introduced for adoption. First consideration by Councilmember Hof, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Goodrich. Discussion? I'm just really excited by this project because it completes that block, the front of the block down towards the Back Pocket and the Marriott. It's really just continues more of what's really been successful down there. Roll call.
Hoft.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Aye. Goodrich.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance passes its first consideration, all ayes. Item 10 is the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Program Disaster Recovery National Disaster Resiliency Contract. There are 7 items to this, 7 subparts to this item number 10. They all have to do with federal funding. We received a little over 1.8, almost $1.9 million in federal CDBG funds to rebuild 2 of our current stormwater pump stations. And it truly is the final phase of our flood protection program. These 7 sub-items all have to do with policies that are required that we reaffirm before receiving these federal funds. So bear with us as we go through these. We'll do resolution number A, which is adopting an affirmative fair housing policy for the city of Coralville.
Resolution adopting an affirmative fair housing policy for the city of Coralville is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? And this, was, as you would expect, this just prohibits discrimination based on, in housing based on race and color, creed, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and family status. Roll call?
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
The resolution is approved, all ayes. Item B is adopting a code of conduct for the city of Coralville, and this will ensure efficient, fair, and professional administration of federal grants.
Resolution adopting a code of conduct for the city of Coralville, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item C is a resolution adopting an equal opportunity policy for the city of Coralville, and it basically provides equal opportunity for employees, applicants, and program beneficiaries to provide program and employment facilities which are accessible to the handicapped and administer the program that does not discriminate against people by all the criteria we just mentioned.
Resolution adopting an equal opportunity policy for the city of Coralville is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Hoft. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item D is a policy on the prohibition of the use of excessive force, and this is related to our law enforcement agencies within Coralville against any individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations.
Resolution adopting a policy on the prohibition of the use of excessive force is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
The resolution is approved, all ayes. Item E is a resolution adopting a procurement policy for the city of Coralville, and basically saying that sound business judgment is utilized in all procurements and transactions.
Resolution adopting a procurement policy for the city of Coralville is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Holt, seconded by.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich. Holt.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item F is a resolution adopting the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan under Section 104D of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1994 as amended, and this just ensures that we will replace all occupied and vacant occupied low and moderate income dwelling units demolished as a result of this project with similar projects, or similar housing.
Resolution adopting the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan under Section 104D of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Holt. Discussion? Roll call.
Holt.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich.
Okay, resolution is adopted. And last but not least, item G is a resolution approving the signature authorization for the contracts related to this project. In the absence of the mayor, council person, and Mayor Pro Tem Mitch Gross, City Administrator Kelly Hayworth, and Assistant City Administrator Ellen Hobble are authorized to sign documents.
Resolution approving the signature authorization for alternate signatories for Community Development Block Grant Number 13-NDRI-010 is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion. Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Okay. Item 11 is the annual urban renewal report, and this is a motion to approve and accept the annual urban renewal report for fiscal year 2016 that's required by House File 2640.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Hoft. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is approved. Item 12 is tobacco civil penalties. This is a resolution accepting payment of $300 civil penalty and waiver of right to a hearing from Cafe Vape. If I'm saying that right. It's a civil
Vape?
Vape? Okay, vape. I don't, these fancy words.
We knew we could know what.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Hanging out with your hip friends.
Yeah, I know, some.
But I like the vapor.
Okay. This is a civil penalty for selling cigarettes to minors.
Resolution accepting payment of $300 civil penalty and waiver of right to hearing from Cafe Vape, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 13 is the First Avenue Duct Bank Project, 6th Street to 9th Street, and it's a resolution approving supplemental engineering agreements.
Resolution approving a supplemental agreement for agreement number one for an engineering services agreement with HR Green Inc. for the First Avenue Duct Bank Project, 6th Street to 9th Street, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion?
Why don't you explain what it is?
Yep. This is for, to take care of all the utilities, the overhead and underground, and they'll all be put into one duct bank so that they're all in one location because of that constrained corridor that we have. And this will enable us to locate and know where all of those utilities are, provide them an easy way to work on and provide their services along that corridor. We're doing that in advance of the First Avenue project, which will be the improvement of 6th Street to 9th Street on First Avenue, so that the utility work is not a detriment to when we get underway with the construction of the actual road.
What's the latest projection when this work would commence?
Spring.
Now spring, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the work, there was easement issues, which we're working on now, and there's some of the duct bank work that can't be done in the wintertime because of the temperatures.
Okay, roll call?
Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 14 is Stormwater Pump Station 7 and 8 modifications. This is a resolution approving amendment number 1, again for additional engineering services for this project.
Resolution approving amendment number 1 to the engineering services agreement with HR Green Inc. for Clear Creek Stormwater Pump Stations 7 and 8 modifications, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Hope, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 15 is the First Avenue Reconstruction Project 2017. This is a resolution approving the entire design and construction services for that project that we just talked about with the duct bank for First Avenue between 6th Street and 9th Street. It would be an agreement with Howard R. Green.
Resolution approving an engineering services agreement with HR Green Inc. for First Avenue Reconstruction Project 2017, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gill. Discussion?
This is a project that the council felt very strongly about, and it's our number 1 project. The 6th Street to 9th Street completes First Avenue, along with the development that's going to go on there. It'll be developed right along with the development going on, right, Kelly?
Yes, yep. So it'll basically extend what's already there on the north of Ninth and to the south of Sixth, so that, and this has got an interesting twist because of the angle of the railroad that goes across at Sixth Street. It's gonna have to be a little more unique, both the crossing guards for the railroad plus the traffic signals that'll be at Sixth, but it's just because of the large angle of the railroad across the section.
I just want to add that anyone who's driven the hours of 8 or 5 on that road or during university athletic events will really appreciate this and know how beneficial this will be, because it gets pretty tight in through there.
Yeah. As will pedestrians too.
Exactly, 100%.
Better ped and bike facilities.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Great. Roll call?
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds. Goodrich.
Aye.
Hope.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 16 is the Iowa Arena Area Boundary Survey. This is a quotation report for a boundary survey to be done in the area where we intend to construct the Iowa Arena down the Iowa River Landing. On our council places, we have a written quotation, and Scott's probably going to go through it, I guess.
Thank you, Mayor. We received 7 submittals for the quotation, and again, this is to conduct a topographic survey of the area around the arena, picking up all the existing ground elevations, existing features, buildings, but also utility locations and any object that may need to be considered during, number one, demolition, but also construction of the arena. So as I mentioned, we received 7 quotations, and the lowest bid was from McClure Engineering at $7,440. So we have worked with McClure Engineering in the past, and they're very capable of completing this task, so we recommend awarding the work to them.
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Consider a resolution.
Resolution accepting quotations and approving an agreement for the Iowa Arena Area Boundary Survey, introduced adoption by Councilmember Gill, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Hoft. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds. Goodrich. Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 17, I would consider a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or amended.
Move to approve the consent calendar, items A through CC inclusive.
Second.
Moved by Gill, seconded by Hoft. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich. Aye. Hope.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Gill.
Aye.
Dodds.
Consent calendar is approved, all ayes. Item 18 is City Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, that, that we will have some different services. So just to ask people to pay attention in regards to their garbage pickup and recycling pickup for the coming holidays. And Thursdays is actually picked up next Monday, and then they also, people on Thursday also get garbage picked up on Friday. So just a little bit different, so encourage people to pay attention to that in our community. Also wanted to point out today that we had a open house at Integrated DNA, and it was very, very interesting. They took over the old Hawkeye Harley space, and they are have their machine equipment and in engineering areas in that location. Spent significant amount of money, but it's a critical part to their overall development here. And they, just in the Harley location and their main office catty corner from this, they have over 690 employees, and that doesn't include the 4 buildings that they have in the U of I Research Park that they occupy as well. So a significant part of our community, and glad to see that they're growing here.
It's a homegrown.
Yes, it is. It came right out of the university and started from the professor there at that location. And what's really interesting is if you talk to an employee, they're very proud of the fact of their long tenure and how the company treats them. And I can guarantee you every one of them can tell you what number employee that they are in the company.
Thank you, Kelly. Just the mayor's report, just to build on that a little bit, I think an amazing little tidbit of IDNA is, IDT, is on an average day, they ship overnight express, FedEx, or one of those, 4,000 packages a day go out, each containing synthetic DNA. 4,000 packages a day go out of that place. So it's a phenomenal business, and it's kind of a best kept secret. I mean, a lot of people aren't even aware it's in Coralville. It's a great company, and they've done a lot to support our community. I think in the interest of the lateness, I'll just close by saying again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and safe travels, and let's root for a Hawkeye victory against Nebraska. Yes. Mm-hmm. City Attorney's report.
Well, I'd like the record to reflect that I miss Kevin, but all things considered, not very much.
Very good. You know, anything you want to add to that, Alan?
Just wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Committee and council members report. Councilmember Gill.
Well, I have the Coralville Fire adopt a hydrant. I don't know if you've seen that, but citizens are welcome to adopt a hydrant for the winter to keep it clear. And this is my third year. I think Lori's third year too, right? Yours the third year, but it's really a good thing. You keep the area clean. You can contact the fire department if you're interested. In fact, last winter I think I just dusted it off once, and now it's in a nicely painted hydrant. So yeah, that's a good thing to get involved with if it's in front of your house. So thank you. My only other comment is have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back and forth. Councilmember Gross.
I don't have much, just happy Thanksgiving, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Dodds.
Neither do I. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Okay. Councilmember Hope.
I just have one thing, Mayor. As I'm looking around, I'd like everybody to take notice of the pecking order up here. All these lovely, sleek, modern-looking microphones, and then ours that looks like 1975. And that's all I have. Happy holidays.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Goodrich.
Time to be done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one thing? I do want to give a shout out. On Sunday, I had the pleasure, I had a group of scouts in. They had a government question day, and so I brought them in. Their usual meeting space was, they couldn't use it, so I said, just come to City Hall. But the highlight was when they asked for a tour of City Hall. So I walked them around and said, that's it. That was Luke. But yeah.
They were impressed.
They were impressed, yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.